folks, and welcome to episode 7 of the Culture Books podcast. We're doing Consider Phlebas, and my name is John, and I'm joined by...
Sheridan.
And we are going to apologise for our contemporaneous listeners, because it has been a little delay, but it was a long chapter, and we think we're on a upwards trajectory with the schedule from here, so stay tuned. To everyone who listens in the years to come, you won't notice anything at all, and you'll wonder what the hell I'm talking about. Anyway, on that slight digression, Sheridan, what's happening?
Is this my 1 minute or I get to
No.
be timed?
No, it's not.
I don't know how I could possibly fit this into the 1 minute. Or do you go? I think you're meant to go first.
I'm meant to go first, which is why you're meant to say, hey, John, you need to give us the 30-second speed run.
Hey, John, you're meant to give us the 30-second speed run.
Right,
I
okay.
thought you got 1 minute.
No, it's 30 seconds.
Oh, tough.
Yeah.
Tough call.
Tough call. Yeah, okay. So I am hitting start now. So there's a war in space. Our protagonist, he's not really a hero. Horza is a shapeshifter. He's chosen the side of the giant lizards over the super intelligent computers, although they are quite intelligent lizards. And he's gotten shipwrecked on an orbital, which is a giant ring in space that is about to be destroyed by the culture. And he's gone to a game of damage hoping to steal a ship.
Fab.
Done.
Can you pause it?
Okay, so that's a quick recap of where we've gotten up to in the story so far. Sheridan, are you ready to, in 30 seconds, try and recap this enormous chapter that constitutes 10% of the book?
Yeah.
Go.
Horza is on Evernorth, and he is about to enter into the Players of the Eve of Destruction Game of Damage. The Game of Damage is really messed up, and I'll save a lot of time by not even talking about it, but it's basically something where you play your feelings. He's shapeshifted into Kraiklyn, and he's stalking Kraiklyn so that he can get on the clean air turbulence. He finds Kraiklyn, who loses the damage, and he has a big fight with Kraiklyn.
Has a big fight with Kraiklyn.
He does have a big fight with Kraiklyn.
And then what happens?
Kraiklyn dies, and he gets on a really huge culture ship and flies off.
Does he? No, I don't think everyone flies anywhere.
They might not have left, yeah.
Mm.
Oh,
and...
Sorry, I forgot the most...
the big twist.
When he gets back onto the clean air turbulence, and Kraiklyn, before he went to the Game of Damage, has got a new recruit, and it's Balvader. But she doesn't recognise Horza because Horza has shapeshifted into Kraiklyn.
Yes. Yes, and we will discuss at some significant length what the hell it means that Balvader's turned up.
Oh, will we?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, you and I got some talking to do about this chapter.
Sweet.
So, I mean, I've got to say, I just loved Sable the Eye.
Oh, yeah.
And in particular, now, the other thing I thought that was really interesting was, as we discussed, this book was mostly written in 1982, some edits done, published in the late 80s. Bloggers didn't exist. YouTubers didn't exist. And yet the tone is pitch perfect for a blogger or a YouTuber.
True.
It's quite remarkable in its way how nothing has changed despite everything changing.
So explain to the audience what Sabre the Eye does.
Okay, I'm going to read a big chunk of Sable dialogue because I love it so much. Damage. The game banned everywhere. Tonight, in that unprepossessing building across the square under the dome, they'll gather, the players on the eve of destruction, the most select group of rich psychotics in the human galaxy, here to play in the game that is to real life what soap opera is to high tragedy. And then it goes on, and it's an interesting description of the non-culture galaxy that we haven't really had much perspective on in the book until now, and it seems like a really unpleasant place. Although the Vavatch orbital has given us a sense of the unpleasantness with the megaships and their slaves and the eaters with their crazy religion.
Yeah.
The non-human galaxy has some problems. Sorry, not the non-human galaxy. The non-culture human galaxy has some problems. Mostly, it seems a libertarian dream of unregulated anything and the powerful doing horrible things to the poor.
True. So can I ask a question about the game of damage?
Yes.
Seeing as you mentioned regulation.
Yes.
Who's running this show?
Well, obviously someone with some money and organisation
lot of money,
has
'cause
put
there's
this
a lot
thing
of
together.
guards.
Yeah, the security guards and some promoter has put this together to monetize the players on the eve of destruction. So the players themselves in their game, that money's all coming from the bets they're putting in.
Mm.
Although the fact that Kraiklyn's allowed to sit at a table from people who own planets suggests that there is some governing body that's decided to let some wildcard up-and-comers into the game. Because otherwise Kraiklyn just couldn't sit at a table with those whales.
Yeah. He doesn't seem like he's
Kraiklyn's not bringing a lot of money to the table.
Well, it doesn't seem like he's actually that good of a player either. He doesn't seem bad, but...
I mean, Horza gains some admiration for Kraiklyn over the course of the chapter. So, but Kraiklyn just started with only 3 lives as opposed to the full complement of, 9? Or some number like that. Obviously it's tough company. And the other thing is there is, a lot suggested in this that damage is a game that there are lower leagues. This is just the very top league. So I think I've had a little bit of sympathy for Kraiklyn through this book. I mean, not a lot. He's a bad man, but he probably didn't deserve Horza just honing on him this
his
way.
neck off.
Yeah, we'll get to that. There's also a nice description from Sable's point of view of the war, which is describing that this is the biport city of Evernath, Vavach Orbital. The very same Vavach Orbital in about 11 standard hours from now is due to be blasted into its component atoms as the Adiran culture war in this part of the galaxy, near the Glitter Cliff and Sullen Gulf, reaches a new standing by your principles regardless and a new low in common sense. Which, I mean, as we're recording this, the war in Ukraine's 3 weeks old, and in some ways there's definitely a bit of both on both sides in that conflict, in that they probably could have sat down and negotiated a better outcome than the senseless destruction of the war. So, what did you make of this part of the chapter, Sheridan?
What part? The damage game?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's an intense game.
I felt that, recently in pop culture, Squid Game had a very similar sort of vibe.
Well, except you don't die.
Well, lots of people do die in damage, though.
But not the players.
The players. No, but the players are the rich pig mask people.
Yeah, but, I mean, in Squid Game and, those other kinds of games that sort of escaping me, what other movies, similar kind of Hunger Games style thing, the rich people don't usually actually play. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a twist, but they're not the ones doing the dying either.
Because, playing damage sounds like it sucks really badly.
Oh, but it's quite the adrenaline rush as well.
Yeah, but you, question your own humanity.
Well, you're made to question it because the feelings get projected onto you by the cards. Yeah. But, as the thing says, it's a pretty simple card game with a lot of emotional energy projected onto it. But you could make the same argument that poker is, in terms of game theory and gameplay, a ludicrously simplistic game. The real play of poker is in the reading of the other players and attempting to make them think your emotions are things that they're not.
Yeah, it does seem like it is a kind of ordinary card game that just is really difficult on your feelings.
Well, yeah, and then people die when you lose.
Yeah.
Plus you lose a ton of money if you lose. There's, a little more description from Sable here. It's a game for the mad and the bad, the rich and the uncaring, but not the careless, the unhinged but well-connected. People still die in damage, and not just the lives either, or the players. Anyway, I loved Sable's reporting, and then obviously later in the chapter we meet Sable, or one of, it turns out Sable might be a few people. Although that's just Horza's take on it. And I did love the description of this sort of festival going on around the game. food vans and bars.
Yeah,
and
different levels of
well,
access and entry.
Well, it's a tiered stadium, and the tiers seem quite large. And I'd love to go to a festival in this venue. It sounds awesome.
It doesn't seem like it's a very interesting game to watch, though, unless you're one of those weirdos that stays down there where you feel the feelings of the player.
Well, he does describe that, if you sit in one of the couches, you can tune into what each of the players are feeling, but you only get a fraction of the blast.
The vibe.
Yeah. And then you've got the animals, the acrobatic death beasts dueling up above, which I just sort of rounded out the sense.
It seems like there's a lot going on.
Yeah, carnival vibe. And just the introductory description, then he keeps coming back to it through this part of the chapter. The chapter's really in three parts. You've got the game of damage at the start, then you've got Kraiklyn versus Horza, and then you've got entering the culture ship, the Ends of Invention.
Yeah, although the game of damage is half of the chapter at least.
Yeah, but in terms of three portions. So the animals described that a slow-motion animal trapeze act arced gradually overhead. Horza recognised the beast performing it. It would become a combat act later on. And then we've got some description of money. For finally we get some sense of money in the universe. The AOSH credits, which seem like the opposite of Bitcoin, and that they're actually worth something. Yeah, so the idea that you've got these coins that have these weird holograms inside them that verify what they are, and that they are tradable for a given weight of an element, so that have a inherent value throughout the galaxy. And Horza trading his money for things, and we're introduced the let me try and pronounce this, Ishlorsenami.
I wasn't sure how to pronounce that either.
Yeah, the species was renowned for being the most unimaginative, humorless, prissy, honest, and incorruptible group in the galaxy. But they seemed quite willing to be party to horrible cruelty as well, which is an interesting dichotomy.
Maybe they're just really economically rational.
Yeah, but, damage is an irrationally cruel.
Yeah, but if
pastime.
they're just the ones making the money off it.
Yeah, they're getting paid to run the show. Yeah, I guess so. Now we get the description of the players on the eve of destruction. Did you have any standouts?
You tell me yours, and then I'll see if any.
Well, you had Wilga with his concubines, the finest one-sex harem in the galaxy, which does. It's an interesting little distinction. One-sex harem suggesting some people out there have multi-sex harems. And then later in the chapter, there's a description of Horza getting too close to the harem, and the pheromones driving everyone in that part of the stadium into giant orgy mounds.
The orgy mounds seemed a bit over the top to me. But
well, it was nice that some woman stuck her head out and asked him to join in. You don't need to join the orgy. It's just always nice to be invited, isn't it? That whole consent thing. We've been to festivals like that. So for you, any favourites though?
I can't. No, but none sort of come to mind.
Okay, because you've got the young crippled boy with the kindly girl sort of leading him into the game. That was an interesting. It's a character that went nowhere, but it was like made you think what's going on there. And you've got the guy who just throws credits into the crowd and just once threw a billion credit in, so some person who'd been trying to sell their life to become a life ended up buying a planet. Which is a extremely cruel but sort of fun thing to do. If you had that kind of money, it'd be nice to change someone's life every now and then, wouldn't it?
It did seem like a reasonably egalitarian game.
Well, in that it let Kraiklyn play at the same table as these planet owners.
Yeah, and you don't have to be able-bodied, or you've just got to have. And I don't even think you have to be smart.
I think emotional durability
seems to be the test.
It did make me wonder. Like, you got all these creatures from all over the galaxy. Some of them not even human. Like, one of them's some sort of blue creature with 6 legs and that sort of thing. How do you go about calibrating the emotional effects of the equipment to make it an even playing field?
Yeah, it does seem to imply there's some uniformity in emotions, which even
emotional impact. Yeah.
Or even in the humans that, in real life, that definitely does not exist.
Yeah.
Sociopaths, I don't know if they'd be good or bad at it.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting question. It's a slightly different question because someone who doesn't normally feel anything might be really, really bad when feelings suddenly get imposed on them. I think we'll just have to suspend our disbelief for a second on that one and just go with that. Somehow the game can be leveled across all these different races, cultures, and also I mean like the as has been discussed, the culture and to some extent Horza are capable of inducing any drugs they want into their system at will.
Mm.
So something that dampens down, what do they call them, mood stabilizers? You'd think you'd be juicing yourself up on that before you jumped into this, this ring. One little thing that's just a throwaway is the Despondent Sect. Did you catch up on that?
The what, sorry?
A description that the less rich, not so well-known players like Kraiklyn had the sweepings of prisons and asylums. This is collecting their lives. And a few paid depressives who had willed their share of any proceeds to someone else. Often, members of the Despondent Sect could be persuaded to become lives, either for free or for a donation to their cause, but Horza couldn't see any of their distinctive tiered headdresses or bleeding eye symbols. It's just a little touch of something bigger out there.
Do we find out more about them later?
I don't think we do. I think they're just drawn into the picture and left as a mystery.
Yeah, right.
And poor old Kraiklyn only had 3 lives, as we've discussed.
Yeah, he does seem to have gone in a little ill-equipped.
And then, it's just, I mean, there's a mention with the IOSH credits of saying, the rumour has it that the culture actually has the biggest amount, which is funny for a group that doesn't have any money. And then Horza thinking, yeah, but they probably just put that rumour out there. It doesn't even have to be true. Which gets to a lot of the unreliable narrators and the fact that there's rumours and lies circulating. And then there's this bit about the Damage Game's lies that it was rumoured that there were ways around the Ishlor tsunami screening process and that some people had succeeded in disposing of their enemies by drugging or hypnotising them and volunteering them for the game. This sounds to me like pub garbage. Because why would you go to such an unbelievably convoluted way of disposing of someone when, Horza kills people all the time.
Yeah, true.
It's not that, it doesn't seem to be that hard to kill people in this galaxy. Although I guess it depends on a cultural world with a mind overseeing it might be a bit harder. Did you have anything else you want to say about the game of Damage, Sheridan?
Well, what about the security guard that he puts down with the non-lethal fingernail jab?
And leaves unconscious in a bar and a world about to be destroyed?
Yeah, actually, now that you're saying it, was a bit of a...
I mean, he didn't have a lot of options.
No.
I thought Horza was reasonably enterprising in his ways of trying to get around the guard who wanted to see his pass that he didn't have. He came up with it was a good line of bullshit for, my pass is over there, I'm just going to get it and then try and disappear. And, then when she was absolutely, I need to see your pass, he did try to bribe her. Yeah,
she was not having a bar of it.
Yeah, I mean, what a cause to die in.
Yeah.
Because I'm always the idiot who doesn't, take a bribe or take a hint in that way, and being like, no, the rules are the rules, and you've got to obey them. So that could have been me very easily. At the same time, the intelligent part of my brain is, she should have just taken the bribe. She would have been richer. She would have been alive. She would have been happier. And also, why would you... I mean, obviously she didn't know Horza was as dangerous as he was.
Well, she might think that it's someone trying to trick her, though. Like the people that run the show.
What, as a mystery visitor?
Yeah, as a mystery shopper.
Mystery shoppers generally don't push those extremes, but I grant you this is an extreme environment. But it just seemed like a hell of a hill to die on. With these, because obviously the people running this whole show are morally decrepit, so why not take a bribe while you're working for them? And I guess that comes into the difference between your employers.
Yeah.
And who you're working for and what their standards are. I would be taking my lead from the top here and saying everyone's profiting on misery here, and this guy's offering me a bribe. I don't know.
People at the bottom rarely get to make that. They don't have the privilege to make that decision, though.
Yeah, but then there's also a lot of leaving doors open and nods and winks and, friends having access they shouldn't. I mean, the lower orders have ways of getting their own back.
Mm.
They just don't like to talk about it because they get in trouble. So we had the guard, and we had the various, what turned out to be Sable, the woman with white hair. What did you think of that recurring woman?
Well, I mean, I obviously knew that she was going to mean something. I think I was a little bit disappointed that when there's the big reveal, when, Horza gets in the car with her, that you don't really know if that's who she is. Like, you're never actually given any satisfying outcome that she's definitely Sable the Eye.
I think she acknowledges that she is, though.
Does she?
Yeah. They don't dispute with him. He's like, you're Sable the Eye, and they're like,
Well, I guess you don't know, though, if it's, like, more than one person or...
Well, that's Horza's supposition. Maybe Sable the Eye is multiple people. Yeah, I mean, I actually wondered if she was Balvader for a bit of the chapter.
Okay, I didn't wonder that.
Yeah, because obviously she was being set up to be something. Why does this white-haired woman keep turning
But
up?
Balvader can't shapeshift.
Yeah, but Horza's mentioned that there are drugs you can take that'll achieve a shapeshift.
Oh, true.
Okay, and then we get the pit of self-doubt, which I think you described to me as, my God, that's really confusing.
I did find that very confusing.
Now, what do you think was happening there?
Well, wasn't it just someone playing a card?
Was it?
Well, I don't know. That's why I'm confused.
So, we've got this bit where Horza tunes into Kraiklyn having been doing other things in the arena and while the game's rolling on, and suddenly he's got the question, who are you? And Horza, falls into a hole of what turns out to be a card called the Pit of Self-Doubt that's been played on Kraiklyn.
So it is a card?
Yes, it is, but the effect it has on him is so strong. I honestly wonder if this isn't some culture artificial intelligence playing in the game, thinking Horza's interesting, and trying to interrogate him.
So a changer doesn't have self-doubt when they change?
Well, they have, that bit's normal, but Horza thinks that because he's trying to imitate Kraiklyn, and part of his changing involves a trance where he tries to take on the mindset of the person. That's why he's been impacted by this card more so than Kraiklyn has. I'm just wondering, and I don't believe there's anything in the text to back me up, so this is all headcanon, that I could easily imagine in all these neural networks of the game that a culture intelligence might well be using it, surveilling the system, particularly if they are looking for Horza.
Yeah.
So that whole "who are you" thing.
Why would they be necessarily looking for Horza? Because they think he's dead.
Well, we know they're looking for Horza because Balvader turns up on the Clear Air Turbulence.
But how do you know she's just not on some other mission?
Well, why would she be deployed? It seems unlikely she'd be. We'll get to more to Balvader and why she's on the ship. Because that's a really interesting question. Anyway, I just thought that possibly if the culture is taking an interest in the people on Vabat Orbital, in particular, trying to figure out what's going on with this shapeshifter who keeps popping up in weird places doing strange things, who may or may not be, because they know that shifters are the only way to get onto the Shah's world. So they are looking for Horza. Then surveilling the virtual space of the damage game. And if you've got the best artificial intelligences in the galaxy, then that would be an easy place to deploy something.
Yeah.
But anyway, none of that is covered in the text. That's all me guessing. Although Kraiklyn does lose the hand to a pit of self-doubt treble, they describe. So that's 3 other players hitting him with it. And then so the game ends as the Creep trapeze fighting animals die. Description.
Who wins the game?
Doesn't even describe it, I don't think.
I know. It's very I actually did feel like that was a bit disappointing.
Well, except Horza's the protagonist, and from his point of view, once Kraiklyn's out of the game, he has to catch up with him.
Yeah,
he can't hang around to watch the end of the damage.
But the game doesn't end. It's just Kraiklyn ends it.
Yeah, Kraiklyn's out of the game. But, I mean, they've described that in some games of damage, and part of the appeal of the game is that the time's ticking down and you can't stall for time because you have to get out of there because the asteroid or the planet or the whatever it is you're on there is a set time limit that the game has to end because everything's going to be blown up. And describing that the game turns over its best players because you'll eventually get two stubborn people refusing to fold their hands and dying.
Yeah, but no one seems in a particular rush to be leaving.
Yeah, well, they've all got their private spaceships and they're ready to zoom off. So, but this bit is in the text that many of the top damage players in the past have died because they refuse to fold their hands and everyone gets blown up in the end. Although I would imagine that all of the arbiters of the game and the sound texts and what have you would all be running for the exits long before you get to that point. True.
So, just enlighten me. Damage is not only played at the end of the world, is it?
No. It's
just like regular games.
The people dying bit obviously
adds a little element of...
Yeah, that's... so the lesser leagues that are hinted at aren't being played in the Eve of Destruction setting.
Alright, should we talk about his escape? Or with Sabra the Eye? Or the fights?
I guess I viewed it sort of as all of a piece because it's transitioning from the damage arena down out of the orbital into the culture ship, and for me, I felt like this was a movie that I've seen.
Yeah, I felt like the walking over to the Eye and doing the little gun poked out of your coat move was a bit cheesy.
Okay, I mean, and there was like bribing the guard to stand on his shoulders to see what's going on, and there was a lot of standard action tropes, and literally a car chase.
I mean, how realistic is that though?
Follow that car.
Poke someone with your gun.
Well, I mean, these are the things that happen at the the end of a world when people have to get to the exits.
And if she really is like this. Well, I mean, I guess she is. You said she admitted to being the Eye. Wouldn't you be a bit more better prepped for that? And that dude she was with was totally useless.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who's done more gonzo journalism than most in my life, you're not actually expecting that situation. And all he wanted was a ride, which is why they were just like, okay, sure, have a ride. If he was saying, give us your money or your life, then their reaction might have been a lot more violent. And then you've got the whole huge heaving scene with the fighting in the hovercrafts and,
So one of the things that I was a little bit confused by too, well, there's a couple of things. So Kraiklyn gets out of his car with two other people. Look, who are those people? And they just...
Oh, that was just sharing a taxi.
So then he's isolated on his own.
Well, I think Kraiklyn knows he's being followed. That's why he tries to draw whoever's following him down where he can ambush him, which he just about pulls off the ambush on Horza.
But they're also in this extremely hectic, heaving port where everyone's leaving, and no one sees them fighting.
Well, I mean, if you're on the hovercraft, and these hovercrafts are huge, the skirts are, it's described as being, taller than Horza or Kraiklyn, you're not going to notice two people rolling around on the ground as your hovercraft rolls over the top of them.
Yeah, it just seems like Kraiklyn goes to a place where he can't be actually helped, and that seems like a really dumb move. Yeah,
but he's trying to pull off an ambush, so he's trying to go someplace where people won't see him ambushing.
Why would he try and ambush? Why would you try and ambush the person that's following you? Why wouldn't you try and get away from them? Because he knows once he gets on the hovercraft the big ship to escape, because he's trying to get back to the cat.
Yeah, but he doesn't know who's chasing. I mean, I think this is a plausible response to try and draw your the person who's following you out to a place where you can ambush them and find out who they are.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe he's pretty tired after his game.
Oh, yeah. And it may not be the best response, but it's certainly a response that many people would have in that situation.
Ooh, sorry, I just had a sip of the whiskey that we're going to talk about later. Woo!
Sheridan's had a big sip. This reminded me a little bit of the end sequence of Blade Runner, the final fight in Blade Runner.
Yeah. Well, they're both pretty exhausted. I mean, and it completely wrecks Horza.
Yeah. Yeah, they both had very long days.
Yeah.
And literally emotionally destroyed, and then they're thrashing around. At the same time, I guess my problem here is that there's no sense that Horza's going to die. There's no real jeopardy to it.
It's funny actually because I did sort of think, I wonder if this chapter's so long because Horza dies. But now, I obviously have lived through the Game of Thrones era where, characters are expendable and they weren't back when Banks was writing this.
I think...
I don't feel like though, now the thing is I feel like there is no real risk of Horza dying in the whole book.
In the whole book?
Yeah, this book. Maybe in the next book or at the end of this book.
Okay.
But I don't feel like I was
about to chalk you up for a bold prediction there.
I don't feel like he's gonna die anytime soon.
No. Yeah. I think, Banks has been willing in other books to kill off reasonably major characters, but off the top of my head, I can't think of a protagonist. But it's almost unheard of in any book for the protagonist to die.
Yes.
Before the climax.
Yeah. Although, the Game of Thrones, it did change things.
Except Tyrion was never in real jeopardy, and Daenerys wasn't in any real danger until the finale.
Yeah.
So, sorry, spoilers for Game of Thrones virgins.
But because that had happened with Ned Stark, you did feel like there was a risk.
Yeah, I guess, but then that was a case of misleading you into thinking Ned Stark was the protagonist when he actually wasn't. It's a false protagonist, I guess you could call that. Yeah. So, shall we talk about the whiskey at this particular point?
Why not?
Okay, so, Sheridan, what are we drinking?
Oh God, I've got no idea, but it costs a lot of money.
Okay.
A Starwood Tawny No. 2.
Yes, Starwood. So maybe we'll just drink science fiction themed whiskies. We have this as just by complete fluke. We were getting to the end of the I think it was 6 aisles, the last maybe 5 aisles. The last bottle we reviewed. We didn't really review the bottle, just a couple of sips of it. And the ballot came up to buy the Tawny 2 because when Starwood does their Tawny releases, they sell out really quickly because they win a lot of awards. And anyway, I won the ballot. Hooray. And then there was some asking around when they messed the ballot up, and then they apologised and sent me a bottle anyway. But I did...
For a fee.
For a fee. I had to buy it. I won the opportunity to buy it, not a free bottle. So yes, we're drinking the Starwood Tawny No. 2. So it's Starwood Whiskey, which is a Melbourne distillery. And it's been aged in Tawny Port barrels, which it's worked out incredibly well, which is why they're doing repeat special releases, where Tawny Port is normally quite cloying and treacly, and that all the flavours that are locked in that Tawny Port are here, but the whiskey just cuts through it and expands it and takes away that sickly cloying nature. And it gives you, it describes in the tasting notes as Christmas pudding, which I think's being a little unfair to themselves and the delicacy of the flavours, but definitely there's a lot of those port flavours buried in the whiskey. And it's interesting, Australian whiskey's kind of treading a line somewhere between Irish whiskey and bourbon, and that's not an entirely bad place to be either. So Sheridan, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, it's very tasty. I wish I had a bit of cheese right now, though. That'd be quite nice to... It's very smooth.
Yeah.
It is like a chocolate Christmas pudding.
Okay.
Not a chocolate pudding. It's not like a chocolate pudding.
Yeah. So for our international listeners, Starwood whiskey is worth checking out. The best Australian whiskey is probably Sullivan's Cove. I've never had it, but I'm told, because it's unbelievably rare and hard to get. Lark Distillery is probably the next one, although someone will probably shout at me and tell me that isn't so. And personally, I would rate Starwood as sort of in the third place, but the Tawny releases are impossibly hard to get unless you get lucky, and something to keep an eye out for. Starwood whiskey in general, they do a ruby that is easier to get hold of than the tawny, but is quite similar. So that one you might be able to look for. But yes, that's our whiskey review. Huzzah!
Yay.
Okay, so Horza has defeated Kraiklyn.
And then he pops back on. He gets on to. Oh, what are these things called? They're called. Oh no, lost my notes.
Can we tell you?
Yeah, some general.
The General Systems Vehicle.
They seem like big ships. Well, they're not ships. They're whole cities.
Yes, and it's one of those the cool things that Banks does is the understated nature of the culture's name for things. Because in Star Wars you have Death Star, whereas in the culture they just call it, it's a General Systems Vehicle. And so the idea is that a GSV has everything that you need to replicate the entire culture. It has all the knowledge of the culture, it has all the manufacturing capability, it has millions and millions of people on board. And this one, the Ends of Invention, has had its mind taken out and it's running on just its subsystems so that as a demilitarized vehicle, it can evacuate the Vavach orbital.
Yes.
Now, what did you think of the descriptions of the GSV, Sheridan? What did it make you feel?
How did it make me feel? Well, there was a sort of slightly annoying description as someone who works in the museum sector where they said they can be museums, they can be art galleries, and they can be exhibition displays. And I was like, they're all sort of the same thing.
So the description is there were more than just very big spaceships. So, you said they were very big spaceships. They're more. They were habitats, universities, factories, museums, dockyards, libraries, even mobile exhibition centres.
It was the museums and libraries and the mobile exhibition centres. Libraries are obviously different, but I was like, what's the difference?
Dockyard's quite different.
Dockyard, yeah. But then I was like, are all these things in the same ship? Or is like there one ship that's a dockyard and one that's
everything is within a GSV. The GSV encapsulates the entire culture.
I felt like Horza should have walked for a bit longer then when he...
Well, no, they're shooting him around in vacuum tubes.
Oh, they do too. I forgot about that bit.
Yeah. I also love that this is the first time Horza's seen a GSV. And I'm thinking, if you're going to choose sides and declare war on this intergalactic civilization and choose to side with the lizard people, if it was me, I'd like to know a little bit more about the people I'm choosing sides against. Not get halfway into my war and suddenly be like, ooh, their spaceships are really, really, really big.
I liked how the drone helps him.
Well, culture drones are very polite things. They're very helpful and just, delightful. Well mannered. I mean, they're individuals. They're meant to be. They are the intelligence equivalent of people. And it's quite funny the way Horza blags his way into, because he doesn't know exactly where Cat is, but just describing. They're like, oh, there's a ship matching that description. Shall we take you to it?
Yeah.
And the description that the Ends already had it. So the Ends, the ship's called the Ends of Invention. Which is quite a fun name for a ship, isn't it? Saying, this is as good as invention's going to get.
Yeah.
This is the ultimate. So it already had a mega ship aboard, stored in one of its 2 general bays, suggesting that, there's room for another mega ship if they wanted to. 13 kilometres below in the bottom of the craft. Horza didn't know whether to believe the drone or not. And again, really clever use of context where the drone says, here you are, small bay 27492, which can contain the clear air turbulence, which implies there's at least, 30,000 small bays on this.
It clearly is a massive, massive ship.
Although I do remember when I was involved in starting a business up, that in the first invoice we issued, we put 1,000 in front of.
Why?
We didn't want our customers knowing it was the first invoice.
Oh, right. Sorry.
So we issued invoice number
I thought
1,000.
you meant on the dollars. I was that seems dodgy.
No, we issued invoice 1001, so it wasn't invoice number 1. I don't think the culture's paying that silly buggy. Yeah.
And so when he arrives on the cat,
Yes.
he comes back in contact with Yosin, and I found it rather sweet that she recognised his gait.
Well, don't you... sometimes you'll hear someone walking down a corridor and you'll know who it is.
But they didn't know each other for very long.
Yeah, but she's really into him.
They were like friends with benefits.
I think she's more into him than that.
He's
quite into her as well.
Yeah,
the way he
that's
thinks
what I
about
think.
her,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very touching scene that he was tired and forgot to try and walk like Kraiklyn, and then she sort of flies through a door going, "Oh my god, it's just you." I'm thinking, oh, it's just fucking Kraiklyn. Excuse my language.
I wonder if he's going to reveal that he's Horza. I mean, I guess the thing is he's not going to do that while Balveda's on the ship. Although he must be at this point like, what the fizzazz.
We're still going to get to Balveda,
Yeah,
but
okay.
we're close. What did you think about the insect bite, by the way?
Oh, when is it in... Oh, he's... Oh,
So he's walking across the
that's
small
got to
bay.
be something dodge.
Yeah. So, culture doing a DNA test.
Yeah, or it could be anything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's most likely the culture.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's dodgy.
Yeah, I mean, it's portentous. It was totally written, because you would, an insect, a mosquito biting you, you'd normally be like...
And how he's like, oh, I would have found it surprising that the culture let an insect on.
Yeah.
Wonder if this is a plot piece that we should pay attention to.
Yeah. I did like how Horza's still missing his finger from when Huisong bit it off.
Yeah, how come he couldn't grow it back quick enough?
Well, he hasn't had much time.
But couldn't he have just gotten one of Kraiklyn's fingers and stuck it on?
I don't think he's got that superpower. I mean...
He's got a lot of... He grows other people's appendages.
I was going to say, Horza is a lot of a Mary Sue to begin with. Oh, I've got, venomous spit and venomous fangs, and my fingernails are,
And I can change the
toxic.
body, except my penis, which I'll keep the same.
Not the penis, the balls.
Oh,
You can change the penis.
he can't change the balls.
You can't change the balls.
I thought that was just a choice he made not
No,
to change
so
the
the
balls.
gonads have to stay the same because that's where his DNA is.
Oh, I thought it was a choice.
I don't think so. I think it was all
I
about...
thought he just like, I just like my own dick and balls and I'm going to keep them the same.
Yes. I mean, it just goes to show how nice Yalcin is. Even when she's like, oh, it's just you, Kraiklyn, she's still, like, concerned about him. What happened to you? Did you get in a fight? And then introducing him to the new recruit with the red banner tied around her head below the level of her close-cropped red hair.
So she's changed her hair colour.
Yeah. And okay, so Balveda is on the ship as the new recruit. Sheridan, you're the new reader. What's going on here, do you think?
Well, I don't know. I just don't feel like I've had enough time to digest. It's not going to be good, though.
Now, here's the thing. If you're hunting Horza and you're the culture, surely you don't send Balveda. Surely you send someone else.
Yeah, that's true.
Unless what you're trying to do is flush him out and get his reaction.
Maybe she's trying to team up with him.
But it's been a number of years since I read this book, and I've just read this chapter, so I know the broad outline. But I'm thinking, hang on, she knows he's a shapeshifter, so she shouldn't be expecting to see someone who looked like the last person she saw. So yeah, then it's a big like, why? Particularly, the culture at this moment is in control of the situation. They've got the clear air turbulence in their bay. They can just gas it if they want to, vaporize it. But then there's the thing: they know they need a shifter to get an agent onto Shah's world. So maybe they're trying to co-opt Kraiklyn, Horza, possibly even without him knowing it. But again, then why send Balveda? Yeah. But it could also just be that in the chaos of the end of the Babbage orbital, special circumstances just doesn't have that many agents around.
Yeah, but it seems really dumb to send one that he really does know.
Mm. And particularly when you've got these shape-shifting drugs, why not,
Yeah.
But so they must be trying to send him a signal by sending someone who he knows.
Unless she's, defected and is trying to find him.
I guess so. That's an interesting possibility.
Obviously, that doesn't happen because you wouldn't be so surprised.
Okay, so we have been talking for quite a while, but I think there's a few things we need to sort out. Firstly, we've only met one new ship really in this episode, so Ends of Invention. How do you rate it?
It's pretty good.
Okay, as a name, as a ship?
Awesome. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. Maximum points.
Maximum points.
Okay, who's your most valued player for the chapter?
Oh, I feel like I'm going to go the Moties.
The Moties in general?
Yeah.
Just because they're there as these emotion junkies?
Yeah, because they're just weird and that's cool.
Okay, Sable the Eye doesn't do it for you?
Nilly.
Okay. Just the existence of Moties.
Yeah.
Okay, now give us some predictions. What do you think's going to happen next? Because for the last few chapters, you've just been saying we're going to see a game of damage, and you got there. You were right. We saw a game of damage. We spent a lot of pages.
Fulfilled.
Yeah.
I think Horza's going to tell Yeltsin that he's Horza.
Okay. Yep. And?
I think he's going to try and kill Balvada.
Okay.
That's it. That's all.
That's it. That's all you got. And I mean, he's got, in theory, a ship. He's the captain. He's got the means to fake being Kraiklyn to fool the controls. So he's just going to set sail for Char's World, and we'll wrap the book up next chapter.
Pretty much. I think that's what's going to happen. No, I don't.
We are only halfway through the book.
What's the next chapter called, anyway?
The next chapter is called The Ends of Invention.
Well, they obviously stay on the ship for a while.
Maybe. But cool. Okay. Thank you, folks, for your patience in waiting for this episode, and we promise we're going to be back sooner next one. And thank you, Sheridan, for persevering. I know you've been extremely busy at work for a while, and that's been a big part of the problem. And folks, we will be back soon with Chapter 8, The Ends of Invention.
Bye.